Welcome to the A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal podcast, where each week I, Dr. Mal, share life lessons and motivation to kickstart your Monday. Whether you're starting your day or winding down, join me or me and my future guest for a burst of positivity and a fresh perspective. Let's make Mondays meaningful together. Greetings and happy Monday, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mallory D. McCoy, and welcome to this week's episode of A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. May my light exude positivity and kindness, and may my love be extended to all who could use a little extra. Ashe. Let's seize the moment. To share my gratitude this week, it's pretty simple. It mirrors exactly that I said of last week. Literally all my dreams are coming true right now. So I'm just moving in a spirit of gratefulness and trying not to feel a spirit of trepidation and hesitation, because what's happening for me right now is almost unbelievable. The things that are happening are literal manifestations that I put on my vision board for the last 2 years. And I'm just thinking about how amazing it is that I was able to plant the seeds and now they're actually growing. It's like how I grow my garden outside. I get so excited when the seeds germinate through the soil. So it's literally happening like that in my life right now. And I just know that it's going to be a beautiful garden of amazingness once it's done growing and I'm able to harvest all the hard work that I've put into this. So I know I've been vague these past couple of weeks, but I'll be able to share about what's happening soon. But I've had this feeling that more things are going to happen. So I want to be able to share them all at once. I'm excited about that. I'm also grateful for beautiful new connections. Last Thursday was the most perfect day I've had in a very long time. And it's no surprise that it was also 12/12, which those of my friends who are and listeners who are in the spiritual world, you know that that was a portal day. And literally every conversation, every connection that I made, every or pair of eyes that I was able to look into and speak with, it was just it was just beautiful. I don't even have another word to describe the beauty of all of the connections that day. And I'm in love with life right now. I'm talking about this because I want to come back to it and I want to remember this feeling of all of my dreams coming true. And lastly, I'm also grateful for because with things that are amazing, you have also challenges. So I'm learning some really, really hard lessons right now about myself and about the people around me. And the biggest lesson that I'm learning right now and have been learning for like most of this year is just to let go of things that no longer serve me. And that's difficult because sometimes we are so comfortable in the chaos that when we are presented with an opportunity to experience calm that also is lined up with the unknown, that seems harder. And so I'm just moving through those feelings. And I'm consistently having to remind myself all is well. Everything will turn out how it's supposed to be. There is no problem. There's only destiny revealed. And I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm free. I'm vibrant. And I just have to keep reminding myself of that. So I hope that you also, if you're in this valley of having to face yourself, be accountable to yourself, and even go through some darkness, I hope that you're able to hold on to the fact that the beautiful balance of life holds darkness and light. And then darkness is actually when the most beautiful things grow. So I hope that you're able to hold on to that. Okay. Now, you know, I love me a good definition, and I'm team hashtag facts over feelings. So let's get into it. According to data from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, and the American Psychological Association, while about 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness in a given year, Black Americans are 20% more likely to experience serious psychological distress due to factors like racism, discrimination, and socioeconomic inequalities. Black women specifically often face unique stressors tied to intersections of race and gender, yet we're less likely to receive mental health care. Studies show that only about 1/4 of Black Americans seek mental health treatment compared to about 40% of white Americans. This gap can be due to factors like stigma, my personal opinion, that's the biggest factor. Lack of culturally competent providers. I've also experienced that. And systemic barriers in accessing quality care. That means so many of us are out here struggling alone, feeling unseen or misunderstood, and literally suffering in silence. But you are not alone, and your feelings are valid, and there are resources designed with you in mind. And that brings me actually to the topic of this week. And while I know that I have a broad audience, this episode is specifically tailored toward Black women. And it's for Black women. And I'm unapologetic about that because I need to ask a very, very important question to my sisters. And the question is, sis, are you okay? Because it's been rough out here and I have felt it, not personal. Well, yeah, personally, I felt it personally, but I know and I see the struggle that is happening with my sister. So, like I said in the outro of my last show, I have never spoken about politics on this show in a persuasive way because if you want to know the truth about how I feel, here it goes. I think local issues take precedence over any other issues because they directly affect the community I live in. I know and recognize that I live in a state that votes one way across the board. So when I vote, of course, I'm doing my part, but the way my piece is set up, I no longer put many feelings into the election beyond the state level. I already know what's going to happen before I cast any vote. So I guess I'm surprised when when I looked online and saw that there was so much disappointment about the presidential election because it didn't go the way that you thought it was going to go. And particularly for us sisters, Black women, 94% of us thought that it would be clear who is more qualified out of the two representatives that they gave us. So, right now, I just want to acknowledge that I want to acknowledge your feelings, and I also want to hold space, and I wanted to do it in a public way. And I also wanted to publicly acknowledge the deep disappointment and hurt I felt y'all feeling by the recent presidential elections. And I know and realize that frustration, that disappointment comes from a place of love for our communities and for us, hope for a better future, and a desire for leaders who genuinely see us and fight for our needs. So I'm saying all that to say your feelings are valid. It's normal to feel afraid and exhausted when it feels like your voice wasn't heard or isn't heard, because currently every day, like I expressed earlier about the intersections of, Black women or being Black and being a woman, oftentimes our voices can feel muted in such a big space. But I would be remiss to also acknowledge that it's not just about the election. It's this time of the year. The holiday season is closing in. The end of the year pressures are stacking up, and all the headlines that we see every day, all the news that we see, all the grief that we're experiencing from people who are or that we love that may be transitioning or sick during the holidays. It's just a lot. And we've got economic struggles weighing on our backs. I know, I see it every day. All you got to do is log into Facebook and go to one of these mom groups. And there's women on here who are desperate, economically desperate to take care of their children. So for many Black women, whether single, partnered, working, caring, or caregiving, studying, or all the above, there's that constant tension of trying to make ends meet while everyone seems to need something from you. There are healthcare disparities that hit our communities in ways that can feel so personal and painful. Pick me. I certainly can. I actually was just talking about two disparities that I experienced when I was going through a really tough healthcare time. We also have the educational inequities that mean our children, nieces, nephews, and younger cousins aren't always getting what they need from all of the school system, not just the public school system, but the whole school system as a whole. And to add on top of that, the generational trauma that we carry, trauma that is in ours, but that of our mothers, our grandmothers, our ancestors who lived through unimaginable hardships and the micro and macro aggressions that we deal with every single day, from the workplace to the grocery store. And now, after yet another election where it feels like the issues we care about just got sidelined, it's the fear about the future also. I just was in conversation on social media with one of my sorority sisters who was brave enough to share with me about her fears about the upcoming administration stripping away her marital rights from her and her wife. And I never thought about that because that's not something that directly impacts me every day, but that can certainly cause a fear. And that's not even the list. That's not even the whole list. I could probably list many different facets, many different people's experiences that is causing this fear to brew. I personally am struggling with the impeding changes to the public education system, and specifically, with my son who is receiving care in special needs department. Like, I'm figuring out like when I need to pivot, how I need to pivot to provide him the best educational experience that he can. So I say all that to say that I understand your feelings. I understand that guts feeling of will people around us ever truly value and protect Black women? So all these questions, I know all these topics that I'm bringing up to you are heavy, and they can stir up anxiety, depression, anger, sadness, an entire spectrum of emotions that deserve our attention and our care. But I want to acknowledge something very important. We as Black women are often expected to be strong no matter what. We are expected to push through without we are expected to push through without complaint, to pick ourselves up and move on. But sis, there is no shame, no shame in and there is no shame in admitting that you are tired. There is no shame in feeling disappointed or scared. And there is definitely no shame in seeking help or support. So, what can you do? How can you take care of yourself when you feel like the world is piling on so much pressure? This week, my call to action for you is to do so much of you, boo. And so here are a few suggestions that I've come up with so that you can do you. First, we have to acknowledge our feelings. It's okay to say that you're not okay. And if you're in that boat, you have to give yourself permission to feel. Journaling can help. Just putting pen to paper, even if it's messy, can let you process and release some of the tension. But also, I know I'm an energy that people drop their information on. Like, strangers will come up to me and tell me their whole life story. I'm kind of like that too, though. I'm an open book and I share a lot, but it happens to me more often than I do to others, which I'm fine with that. This is totally my gift, but I think that it gives comfort to people to express their feelings to others without there being any sort of judgment. Like, what am I gonna do if I don't know you and your situation doesn't really affect me directly? Like, what am I gonna do but listen and just, you know, not give any type of judgment, because for what reason? So if you're one that needs to talk through your issues and you don't want to seek out therapy, you can find a friend or you can find a complete stranger. There's many people willing to listen. Um, you can also build a support network. That's important. I said in my last episode that we are going to, in this space, we are going to have to figure out how to come back together as a community that we're intended to be. We're going to have to remember how to rely on others and not rely so heavily on ourselves, because it's necessary. There's so many people suffering in silence, and we don't have to do that. We can help to lift each other up, and we can help to hold space for you if you need it without judgment. So we just have to psych ourselves up. Ultimately, community care is so powerful. In the past, we've always leaned on each other in hard times. So we just got to get back to that. Seek professional help if you can. There's nothing wrong with it. I've been in therapy numerous times. I actually, when my dreams start creating, because they're growing, but when they start creating currency, then I'll be able to afford therapy. That's one of the first things I'm going to do is seek therapy. But it's not just for crisis moments, it's for helping to navigate every day. And there are options if like if you're like me, who is a business owner just getting it popping. There are options out there, but for me, I like to cultivate an intimate relationship with my therapist. So I just wouldn't want to like go to 3 therapy sessions because I can't afford it and do. That's me. That doesn't have to be you. If you need to get it out, that they're out there. They're offering sliding scale payments or payment options so that you can get the care that you need. I would also suggest looking up directories, like, and there's a podcast, therapy for Black girls. I think that's a website too. Also, the Loveland Foundation helps to connect Black women with culturally competent therapists. Very important. I pride myself on making sure that I'm going to a therapist that can relate to how I experience the world. So that's also important to me too. Another thing you can do to take care of yourself and do so much of you is establish boundaries. Turn off the news if you need to. Get off of social media if you need to. Decline extra responsibility at work so you don't have the bandwidth for. You don't have to do it all. Boundaries help to protect your mental and emotional energy. No is a complete sentence. Practice with me. No. We're not doing it. No. Next, you can practice mind and body wellness and nutrition. Nutrition is so important. But if you don't want to start there, you can get outside. Get outside, connect with the earth, put your feet in the ground if it's not too cold. But if it's cold, go touch a tree. Do something to connect to earth to help balance you out. Leave your phone where it's at. Don't even bring your phone, and just go out and take deep breaths and just enjoy the beauty of outside. You can also move your body. That's important. You can also focus on your breath. That's important. Or you can just rest. Resting is resistance. Resting actually gives you power. So you can try that too. And then lastly, this is not something that is comfortable for us to do, but we have to get better at doing it. And what I'm talking about is celebrating small wins and joys. Okay, in my full Leo self, I love compliments, but when people are overly complimentary to me, sometimes I get taken aback and I get shy, and it's just like I may say something that makes me feel comfortable. Like, one of the coping mechanisms I have sometimes in uncomfortability is like making people laugh. And so I might slide a joke in there or, something like that. But just being comfortable with people celebrating you is so important. Just being comfortable with you celebrating yourself is so important. It's not bragging. It's okay, like that you do great things. And they don't have to be on a big level. Like for me, I am celebrating, of course, my dreams coming true, which I'll be able to talk about that at a later time. But I'm just celebrating my unbotheredness. Today, I feel unbothered. And so I'm celebrating that. And actually, what has helped me through that is because the past few nights has been kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for me. I've not been able to sleep straight through. But last night I did. And that felt beautiful. But I've had this anxiety that I've been holding on to. It's an anxiety, fear, and I just had to let it go. I had to let it go, and when I let it go, I feel lighter. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Celebrate you is actually an act of resistance and self-preservation. So get outside, get full of love for yourself, and celebrate and share all the amazing things that are happening in your life. And I say that like it's easy, but it's not always easy, sis. The disappointments might run real deep. The fear for our community and our future is real. But I want to remind you that you are worthy of care, compassion, and mental well being. You deserve spaces where you can exhale, where you can be heard, where your pain is acknowledged and your healing is supported. The fight for justice and equality will continue. We'll keep pushing for better leaders, more inclusive policies, and truly representative governance. But in the meantime, we must also care for ourselves because we can't pour from an empty cup. One of my mantras is what they use on flights when they talk about give yourself oxygen first. Like, if it's not something that's giving me my oxygen first, then I'm not doing it. That may come with me being 40, but that's my feelings and I'm sticking to it. Our resilience has carried us this far, but our resilience doesn't mean we never rest. It means we find ways to recover, rebuild, and renew our spirit so we can keep going. So if you're not okay, sis, it's all right. It's human to feel like you feel. You deserve to be honest about it, though, to seek support and to find moments of peace in the chaos. And it's up to me and people like me to keep reminding you of that. So let's create spaces, physical or digital, where we can breathe, feel, and heal. And I don't mind talking to you. So if you want to talk to me, I do have a link that I can link down here or up here. It's probably going to be up here. I'm going to link up here, and it's you can call me. It's a discovery call, and we can discover how we can work with each other to help you through your feelings. So to wrap up today's episode, I'll leave you with a quote and a list of affirmations. So, this quote was strategically picked. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Alice Walker said that. We all have power, and whoever's sitting in the presidential seat does not strip us from our power. We are powerful individuals all by ourselves. And these quotes I actually had from my other Black Girl episode that I did a long time ago, and I thought they were pertainable today. So I am allowed to be myself and show people who I am. Absolutely. By shining my light, I help others shine theirs. I allow myself to feel so I can heal. Yes, you have to feel to heal it. That's the only way to get through it. My most lavish luxuries are stillness, peace, and simplicity. Mm-mm-mm-mm. The chaos around me is no match for the calmness within me. And lastly, my magic speaks for itself. It absolutely does. Well, that's all for me this week. I'm forever honored that you continue to tune in. So if you're here and you're listening, thank you so much. Next week, for my episode, I'm running back some never before heard gems dropped by my previous guests that I cut from the episode, but they were so good. They were so good that I could not share them with you. So next week, I'm calling the episode The B-Sides of a Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. Please, please, please tune in. You don't want to miss it. Until then, love and peace to all of you. Have the best week. Thank you for tuning in for a Monday Moment with Dr. Mal, now proudly a part of the Alive Podcast Network. You can find this show on the Live Podcast Network website and app, and you can find this podcast streaming across your favorite podcast streaming platforms. If you love to have the visual, you can tune into my YouTube channel, When Mallory Lives, to see this show and catch up on all my shows from the beginning.